So this is Ezekiel 33:22, the watchman's duty. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, speak to the sons of your people and say to them, if I bring a sword upon a land, and the people of the land take one man from among them and make him their watchman, and he sees the sword coming upon the land and blows on the trumpet and warns the people, then he who hears the sound of the trumpet and does not take warning, and a sword comes and takes him away, his blood will be on his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not take warning. His blood will be on himself. But had he taken warning, he would have delivered his life. But if the watchman sees a sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and a sword comes and takes a person from them, he is taken away in his iniquity, and his blood I will require from the watchman's hand. So that struck me last night, that, at least from Rebecca's perspective, Sheriff Cole is the watchman. If we go back to the beginning of this, we elected him, we voted him in, and he's coming here tonight to share with you what's taking place on the border. Now, the responsibility will fall with each and every one of us when we leave these doors. What do we do with that information? How do we get involved? Do we need to ask for repentance, maybe for the lack of involvement that we've had in our nation? We didn't get here because Christians were involved in government wholeheartedly. We got here because Christians and good citizens that maybe don't necessarily claim the faith haven't been involved in government. So I just want you to think about that, and really, as Sheriff Cole shares what's going on at the border, be thinking about it. We're going to have plenty of time for question and answers afterwards. We want this to be an open, engaging conversation. Um, Myself nor Sheriff Cole are here to just yap at you. So we want you to be involved, ask questions. So with that, I would like to welcome Sheriff Cole up to chat with you.
Thank you. This is a much cozier, open venue than it was last night. We spoke at Stearns last night, and there was 150 people there probably. They were lined up in the hallways, so this looks much more relaxed. Thank you, Rebecca, and it was good seeing you last night. Was anybody at the event last night other than Rebecca? Good, 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 good. Well, it's you'll be bored. No, you won't be bored. Anyway, it's an honor for me to be with you folks tonight. It's an honor to be your sheriff. For me, as an elected official, the greatest honor I can receive is the person that goes into the ballot box and chooses to color the bubble next to my name. That's a huge honor, and I appreciate Rebecca saying that this isn't a political event. Trust me, I could make it political. I could very easily make it political, but that's not what I'm here to do tonight. It's my hope that you're here tonight because maybe you're watching different news outlets and you're not sure what to believe as to what has taken place on our southern border. And I'm here to tell you tonight what the media is telling you is a lie. What you're going to see tonight are videos and photos that I took myself, or I was given permission to use, or I spoke directly to the person that shot the video, except for one, and I'll point that video out before it's played. We as citizens are being lied to about what is taking place on our southern border. Border Patrol agents told me that. I shared with the group last night when I flew back from McAllen. So I've been to Texas twice. I was there last September, and then I was there last week. And I was in Israel back in May. And we're going to kind of tie a little bit of what happened in Israel on October 7th into this presentation tonight as well. So with that, this is my fourth term. I'm running my fourth term as sheriff this year. And I just want to tell you, any of you remember Jim Major? You remember Jimmy Major? He was a supervisor in Victory Township. When we talk about politics and whatnot, Jim Major passed away earlier this year from cancer. And you know, we had the whole all the cops needed body cams because all cops are crooked, right? So I smiled when people said we got to put cops in body cameras. I'm like, bring it on, because cops are good people. They just want to do good, and you're going to see just how good police officers are. And what happened when all of America got body cams, including our agency, you saw police officers saving children from choking, pulling people out of burning cars, and arresting bad guys and talking people out of jumping off bridges. And when that didn't fit a certain narrative, they said we need to defund the police, right? And Jim Major was a dear friend of mine, and Jim called me during the defund the police movement, and he said, Kim, I don't know what's going on. He goes, I'm going to tell you, my dad was a union Democrat, and we were told the Democrats put food on our tables. And you Republicans are just rich old white guys that don't care about the working class. And he said, I'm going to tell you what I have seen coming out, and it's not Democrats, it's from crazy people, is not right. And he goes, you will have my support forever. And I would really like to go out and buy you a cup of coffee so we can talk further. And when I got my petitions to run for sheriff this time, I always pick one person to be the very first one to sign my petition, and that was Jim Major. So this isn't political for me. My job is not political. My job is to do what I feel is best in my heart for our community. I don't always get it right. I try my best, but sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. But I am 100% confident that what I'm going to show you tonight, I hope you have an open mind. I hope you say, I just want to know the truth. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do once I get the facts. I will tell you that when this came out that I was going to be speaking on this, I had a couple people call commissioners. They don't call me, they call the commissioners, which just drives me crazy. Maybe they know it drives me crazy, but nobody calls me. And one of the commissioners called me Friday, and she said, you know, you need to be careful, because people want me to take away your wages. They want me to suspend your wage. They want me to kick you out of office. And I said, well, that tells you how stupid these people are, because they can't take away my wages and they can't kick me out of office. Only you can. That's it. All right. Part of our mission statement at the sheriff's office says we will do what is right regardless of the cost. That cost is not financial. That cost is political. It's social acceptance. And for as long as I'm sheriff, I will do what is right regardless of the cost. So with that, I was in McAllen, Texas last week, and I was the lucky guy flying from Dallas back to Grand Rapids. As soon as I sat on the plane, guess what? The plane broke. So I spent 3 hours sitting on an airplane on a runway in Dallas, Texas, got home at about 3 o'clock Thursday morning. And of course, I was dumb enough to schedule an 8 o'clock meeting Thursday morning at my office. So, but anyway. So this right here is where it all started. This is myself in some Texas sheriffs in Washington, D.C. in 2019. I was invited to be part of a border security meeting there. And this is the first time I heard the phrase, all communities are border communities. Texas sheriffs said, the problems we are facing in Texas are going to make their way into your communities in time. We are all border communities. And we're seeing that here in Mason County. We're a border community here. And I'll tell you why, and I'll show you why here shortly. So, why is the second slide I'm showing you some heroes from Israel? These are 12 border security officers in Israel that were killed on the morning of October 7th, 2023. And we're going to talk about this. These were, in Israel, their special forces are law enforcement. So if you look at the American system of military, your Navy SEALs, your Delta Rangers, your Army, or your Delta Force and Army Rangers are military here in America. Those folks in Israel are law enforcement. So these 12 gentlemen were law enforcement officers among the first killed. Israel lost 61 policemen on the morning of October 7th. Most all of them, when their bodies were recovered, their guns were empty. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But 12 guys were killed on the morning of October 7th. And we'll tie it all in here later in a little bit. What does an unsecure border create for us? Well, it's a humanitarian disaster. We're going to talk about that. I'll show you why it's a humanitarian disaster. It is a criminal enterprise run by the cartels, and it's a threat to our national security. Texas sheriffs, American sheriffs, never want to tell you they lose at anything. Texas sheriffs, Arizona sheriffs will tell you they have no control of the southern border right now. The borders are being run by the cartels. It is a billions and billions of dollar enterprise. If they are not running drugs or guns, they're running humans. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But let's talk about the humanitarian disaster first. This is Sheriff Benny Martinez. Benny Martinez and I met in 2019 in Washington, D.C. We went back to D.C. in 2021, and I went as a Michigan sheriff to support Sheriff Martinez and other sheriffs. We met at Customs and Border Patrol headquarters, and we called on President Biden to fire Mayorkas for his absolute failure, a colossal failure on our southern border. And I hold that true today. What has happened on the southern border is it's a man-made disaster. It could have been prevented. Rebecca mentioned, the Republicans did nothing when they were in charge, and they've just put it on steroids now. So Benny Martinez is the sheriff in Brooks County. That's about 70 miles north of McAllen. Texas 281 runs through Brooks County from McAllen up to San Antonio. And there is a border checkpoint northbound on 281 in Brooks County. It's a permanent fixture. It's a big fixture. Any of you familiar with McAllen? Okay, a couple of people are familiar with McAllen. So it's a permanent fixture. Everybody knows it's there, right? So when we went up to Brooks County, I noticed when we were in the bus, there was about 30 or 40 of us U.S. sheriffs. There were a lot of state elected officials from all over America. Missouri had 33 state legislators there, because what states are starting to do, they're catching on that the government is not fulfilling their obligation to the United States Constitution and federal law to secure our borders. So their states are starting to take over, and they're saying we're going to pass laws that fill the gap where the federal government's failed. So we're in a Greyhound bus. We're riding up to McAllen, and I noticed probably 4 state troopers that were working southbound 281, heading towards McAllen. So I asked Sheriff Martinez, I said, why are they working southbound? All your problems are northbound. He goes, no. What they're doing, the cartels is doing, is they are stealing dually pickups in San Antonio, in Houston, and in Dallas, and they run those south to the border, and whatever their flavor is, if it's guns, drugs, money, or humans, they take the dualies, because when the police try to pull them over, they go off road, and the patrol cars can't keep up, and that's how they're getting away. So this checkpoint that is in McAllen, what they're doing, everybody knows it's there. So if they're running humans, the cartels will stop a mile or so south of the checkpoint, and then they will tell the people, go behind the checkpoint, and we'll pick you up a mile or so north. And they have sensors. The Border Patrol has sensors in the brush to detect foot traffic back in there. But the problem is these people have no idea where they're going or what they're doing. And this isn't about Hispanics trying to find a better life. Okay, let me make that clear right now. This is about criminals who want to kill Americans. Right? Understand that. It's not Hispanics coming across the border that I'm afraid of, totally. But we are a nation, like Rebecca said, of law and order. We have laws, we have rules. And most Americans are just kind-hearted people. They're not capable of harming another human being unless extremely provoked. So it's because of folks like you that we have to have law and order, right? Because you don't want to hurt anybody, and you want people that are victimizing you to be held accountable. So it's for the people that are coming in that want to carry out attacks on the homeland. And trust me, there are people here in America that want to commit terror on the homeland. But in Brooks County, let's talk about that first. As of November 17th, 2024, Sheriff Martinez has recovered 273 dead bodies in his county alone since 2021, since President Biden's administration has been in office. That is 1 out of 254 counties in Texas. 1 county in Texas. He has over 900 missing person cases. You must think Brooks County is a big county. In Mason County, I have 27 deputies and myself. Brooks County has the sheriff and 5 deputies. That's what he's dealing with. I asked him, I said, why do you have so many missing person cases? He goes, because this terrain is ruthless. It's ruthless. Between the coyotes, the mountain lions, and the wild hogs, if you die in the desert, you're not around long. They eat everything. One video. Can you click on that video? This is what people are facing as they come across America. I'm sorry. Hold on. This video right here. You should be able to just, there you go. You have audio? Okay. Is that not playing? You're not getting the audio? So these are, while they're trying to get the audio going, these are immigrants trying to find a better life in America. They're coming up from Panama. The gentleman with his hand on the shoulder, that little girl there crying, has just been raped by gang members and cartel members. And they're telling the story about what had happened to her. Is it not going to work? Okay. All right. Well, just let it play for a little bit then, and I'll explain it. This is what people are going through. It takes the average person that wants to come to America 8 to 13 years to pay off the cartels their debt. While we were in Texas, I heard the story from a Texas trooper who told the story about a person that had come to the United States. I think he was in Colorado, and he didn't make his debt to the cartel. So they kidnapped him, took him back to Mexico, and then they skinned his daughter alive in front of him. Okay, the cartels do more recon on the people they're coming across than you could ever possibly imagine. You could ever possibly imagine. They know everything about you. They know your family. They know your kids. They know where your kids go to school. And if you don't make good on the debt, they're not just going to forgive you. They will kill your family. They will sell your kids into human trafficking. This video goes, they start tracking the people responsible for the rape, and they end up catching them while they're raping another girl. And then a gunfight breaks out, and the law enforcement officers here, they kill one of the 3 bad guys. They take the other 2 into custody. So that's the video. See, there's guys saying there's 3. There's 3 and they're right over here. And when law enforcement got to them, they were in the process of raping another young girl. Sure. Yes. What's the name of that officer? I've seen him before. Oh, that's Ben Bergquam. Ben Bergquam runs a program called Law and Border. You can Google him. You can YouTube him, I would think. That's Ben Bergquam. He's a journalist for American News Voice, I think it is. Real America's Voice, yeah. All right, this is another video. Click on this one. The audio is not so important. That's fine. So these people are telling these guys they're from Venezuela, trying to come to America. And you're going to see here in a second the trash. These people that are running our world talk about how we have to watch our carbon emissions. There's trash everywhere. Among that trash are passports, IDs. How many of you travel abroad? You travel across? Yeah, okay, yeah. How important is your passport to you if you travel, right? You know, I was telling the story last night. When my kids were little, my son was probably 8, my daughter was probably 5. My son was a hockey player, and we were playing in a tournament up in the Sioux. And my wife had this brilliant idea that she wanted to go to Canada and shop. So after a hockey game, we load the kids up, we go across. Canada didn't have a problem with us getting into their country. American Customs says I need to see passports for the kids or birth certificates. I'm like, I don't have them. So well, the kids can't come back into America. And I'm like, well, I can't give you something I don't have. You know, feed my kids well, make sure they got good clothes, but I can't give you something I don't have. And the guy and I get in an argument about it, the Border Patrol guy, and finally a supervisor came over, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, yell at my wife. She's the one that wanted to go to Canada. So this here, so what they found, this cross was where 2 officers were killed, and they put a memorial up there, and people traveling through trying to come to America, they leave money there thinking it will bring them good luck in their travels, but that's also where the gang members, in a disrespect to law enforcement, rape women. So what he's down on his knee showing people are condoms laying there along with IDs. Okay, so it's hard for you to see this, but this is the, okay, yeah, I'm not ready to show up. So since President Biden has been in office, and I'll read these numbers to you, Biden's administration compared to the Trump administration, when it comes to encounters on the border, while Trump was in office, there were 1.7 million encounters on the border. Under President Biden in the last 3.5 years, 10,800,000. Known gotaways, 433,000 under Trump, 1.9 million under Biden. And deaths were just over 1,000 under Trump and 2,700 that they know of under the current administration. And the gotaways, the Rio Grande Valley sector, which has been a hot area, the gotaways under the Trump administration were about 10,000, 430,000 under the current administration. Those are people that, you know, they brush out a 2-track or something, and then they go, the Border Patrol goes to check it, and they find foot traffic that across where people have come through. So what is happening on the border is very, very real. It's a 465% increase. This is with a ranch that we toured in Texas, and you can, put these 2 pictures in there just to give you perspective on what that brush is like. When we talk about a humanitarian disaster, this is what people are trying to deal with to come to America. Again, I don't fault the people that want to come here and get a better life, but there are rules. There are rules we have to play by. And those that don't play by the rules and they try to shortcut the system, this is what they're dealing with to come here. And this guy, that is a 9-foot, 8-inch rattlesnake that weighed 68 pounds. Killed on the ranch that I was at. This is what people are trying to deal with to come to America. And, you know, they talk about how, you know, these folks just want a better life. They want to live the American dream. Folks, they're not living the American dream. Living in an apartment building or in a shelter in New York City or Houston, Texas, or Phoenix, Arizona, or San Francisco, California is not living the American dream. We live the American dream. These folks aren't living the dream. So when people argue with you and say, they're just coming here to get a better life, this is not a better life. What they are experiencing is not a better life. And I don't know what the fix is. I don't know what the fix is, but it's got to be fixed. And the Republicans and Democrats alike are responsible. You know, so we have to elect people that are going to take care of us. And take care of them. I get that. But we got to have some priorities. It's criminal enterprise. The dope shift. So it went from running marijuana, and marijuana was legalized. And, you know, it was funny because, well, not funny, I say funny in an ironic sense. You know, when Michigan pushed to legalize marijuana, there were 75 Michigan sheriffs out of 83 that said, whoa, 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 pump the brakes. You know, you say that legalizing marijuana is going to eliminate the cartels. It's not going to eliminate the cartels. They're going to continue to sell their dope. They're going to continue to sell marijuana, but they've shifted heavy to the fentanyl. This on the picture over here, what that tells you is in Lukeville, Arizona, 4 million fentanyl pills were seized on a traffic stop by Border Patrol. That was on July 1st, and that was an American citizen. And on the other side is a seizure of 130,000 fentanyl pills. And what they're doing, they're very creative. The cartels are very creative in how they're bringing the dope across. One video we saw that I don't have, but they brought in, like, they were bringing in a large, they were providing food for a large family gathering was the story, and they had plates of food, they had trays of food. Well, they laid all the pills in bags on the lower layer of the cooking sheets and then put food over the top. So what Border Patrol had to do was start scooping the food, and sure enough, they find the pills. The interesting thing, when we talk about it, Texas started a program called Operation Lone Star. There's about 1,300 Texas state troopers that are assigned to a task force to address the criminal the cartels have developed. And the numbers in parentheses are what Lone Star troopers did alone. The one I want to point out to you is the fentanyl. 414 pounds of fentanyl was recovered by Lone Star troopers, 1,900 total in Texas. This was 2023. But if you look at the numbers there, 22,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized on the year. In 2014, a Texas police officer made a traffic stop, and he got 10 pounds of something he didn't know what it was. And he seized it, and it took 3 weeks for the Texas crime lab, state police crime lab, to identify it as fentanyl. That was the first known seizure of fentanyl, 2014. And now here we are 10 years later, and it's coming in by the tons, in pills, and it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. We talk about the criminal enterprise. This also could play into the human trafficking, the humanitarian disaster that's playing out. Texas Lone Star troopers disrupted 369 stash houses, which were human trafficking. They were trafficking kids and women through it. 3,800 illegals were saved. September 2023, 30 plus illegals found dead just in the southwest sector of Texas. This is last year's numbers. I find this really interesting. This is Border Patrol numbers. This is the federal government telling us there were 85,000 children missing last year on the border. Anybody got a wild idea what that number is this year? 330,000 kids that were unaccompanied minors. Rebecca mentioned a buzzword a little bit ago. You've heard the chain migration she talked about. Well, you've heard the word unaccompanied minors, right? So these kids come to America. Most of them are accompanied by an adult. Not most of them, but some of them. They found in El Paso one child they got 9 times in 1 year that was coming across with adult males. And then the male would say, "This is my kid," or "This is my nephew," and then they would let him in. And a block later, the adult would tell the kid to go back. And what they were doing is the cartels were running these criminals into America to set up the stash houses. And they would go to a family and they would say, "Mr. Ford, I'm going to pay you $5,000 to borrow your kid for a year. And you can either you can either rent me your child, or I'm just going to take your child." And then that child accompanies that adult across. Once the adult gets into America, gets his court a date, which he's not going to show up for, they release the kid goes back, meets another adult, comes back across, over and over and over again. When Trump was in office, had the rapid DNA testing, which meant when a kid and an adult came into America, Customs and Border Patrol would DNA test both. And if their DNA matched, if it didn't, which most times it didn't, they took the kid and they threw the adult out. And then they tried to connect the kid with the parents. Okay. And then when Joe Biden came in, they eliminated the rapid DNA testing. I learned one of the things that was done in 2009. I was talking to actually one of the Border Patrol agents. I said, "What's your greatest asset?" And they said, "Helicopters. Helicopters are our greatest asset." That's good. 2009, federal government grounded Customs and Border Patrol helicopters. Now, why would you do that? Why do you not listen to the people that are actually out there making a difference? This is one of the things that drives me crazy about politicians. They make decisions, but they never talk to the people that actually are involved with the process. You know, I'll share with you. I kind of went down a rabbit hole last night, and I actually saw mouths fall open when I shared the story. Michigan passed their budget in June. They cut $300 million out of school safety, out of a $326 million budget. They took 92% away from school safety in Michigan, and that was right along party lines. 54 Republicans voted against it, 56 Democrats voted for it, and the governor signed it, gutting school safety, putting it all back on the locals. 2 days after the Mason County schools opened here, what happened in Georgia? Kid walked into a school and started shooting people. It's maddening. These decisions are made. Nobody called the sheriffs. Nobody called the chiefs of police and said, what do you think? Nobody called the school superintendent, said, what do you think? They just did it. So I said that last night, and somebody says, why are they not talking about this? I said, because the media drives the narrative. That's what happens. That's why I'm telling you, the media is not being honest with you in so many different fronts. So many different fronts. Okay? But 330,000 missing children that have been brought into America and now nobody knows where they're at. That should really upset you. I would say something else, but we're in church and I'm not going to say that. But it should really upset us, right? All right. Humans are the new commodity for the drug cartels. This is out of the Tucson sector from fiscal year 2024, which actually started in October of 2023. And these are the latest numbers. Just in the Tucson sector alone, Tucson, Arizona, 439,000 apprehensions of humans being trafficked. If you look at and consider that they make the cartels get $1,000 a human, it's going about $5,000 if you want to come into America. But if you just for math purposes say it's $1,000, if you go nationally, there are about 2.2 million apprehensions of minors at $1,000 a piece. The cartel's making $2.2 billion. The cartels have so much money in hand. I was talking to Border Patrol when we were there this last time, and I said, so what's your greatest fear of the cartels? Is it being shot or what? And they said, it's the drones, because they can buy drones by the warehouse loads, the cartels are, because they got unlimited cash. And they said what they do is the cartels are not stupid. They're very sophisticated. And what they do is they modify the drones so they can fly higher and faster than anything they've ever seen. And they said right now, what they fear a little bit, the cartels fear a little bit, is dropping an IED on law enforcement in Texas or Arizona or along the border, because they do still think America will hold them accountable if they do that. And I would like to think they would. I would like to think our government, if you dropped an IED and you killed a half a dozen Border Patrol agents or police officers, I would like to think America would come after you with full vengeance. At least they should. This young guy, this young trooper I met last year while I was down there, he covers an 80-mile stretch of Texas 281. I tried to recruit him to come to Mason County and work. Young, good-looking guy. Any of you young single girls, he's a great, he'd be a good catch. But he hates the snow. And he's like, I'm not. He goes, wait a minute. Yeah, sure you could. He's like, I said, you should come to Michigan, man. I'll hire you. He goes, where are you from? Of course, what do you do when you're from Michigan? I'm from right here. I'm from here. And he's like, wait a minute, here in Lake Michigan's here? I'm like, yes, sir. And he goes, no, too much snow. I'm like, well, we do get some snow. So I asked him, I said, this was last year. I said, the month of September, this is mid-September. I said, how many high-speed chases have you been in? And he thinks for a second. He goes, 8. I've been in 8 high-speed chases. Now, Goodrich and I worked the road here for many years together. You might get 8 high-speed chases in Mason County in 5 years. Maybe. But in Texas, it's every day. It's every day. And I'm going to show you another video that we don't need the audio on, but it was a video I shot. So anyway, high-speed chases. Southbound, they're chasing stolen vehicles and money. Northbound, they're chasing whatever the cartels want to smuggle at that moment. Guns, drugs, humans. Yes. Yes. Primarily Mexican cartels. Yep. Yeah. I will talk about the Trans de Agua cartels that you've heard about. I'll show you a slide on where they're at. That's the ones that were in Colorado that, the governor said, that's not really happening. And then the mayor of the city said, that's not happening. And then the doorbell video showed up and they're like, crap, we forgot about video, right? The media is lying to you. And quite honestly, the sheriff, I'll figure me out, but I don't want to condone lying, but I understand why you don't want to let the world know that you've got problems in your city when it comes to these violent gangs. These Venezuelan gangs are ruthless. They don't care about anything. But he's a great young man. He opened his hand up like this when I met him, and he had cuts all over his hands from the picker bushes, chasing people in the picker bushes and pulling people out of the scrub brush from foot chases. I mean, his hands were all marked up. This gentleman here, he's another Texas trooper. He's been around a long time. What he is he's a liaison between the ranchers and the governor's office in Texas. Any farmers in the room? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. They have such a problem with high-speed chases and these big stolen dualies that when the bad guy knows the cops are onto him, they go off-road. What is one of the things they're taking out? Fence. And to a farmer, a rancher, the fences are pretty important. So this gentleman goes along. His only job is to liaison with the ranchers, build their trust, get their trust, and then he goes and actually temporarily mends the fences. And then he gives the rancher a form and says, fill this out, get it fixed properly, and the state of Texas will pay for your fence to be properly mended. That's how bad it is down there. He's a super cool guy. Always got a toothpick in his mouth. Yes, ma'am.
What's a dually? Can you explain it?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so a dually's a big pickup truck. The pickup truck with the 4 tires on the back. It's not just a standard like Ford F-150. It's a bigger truck. Usually they got the wide tires on the back. They're built for endurance and ruggedness, if you will. So let's talk real quick about the threat to national security. I got another picture I'll show you, but so here's what happens. I get into Texas Monday morning, and we didn't have anything going till Monday afternoon. So I decided I was going to walk down to the mall, which was like a half a mile from the hotel, because I didn't have anything to do and I can't sit still. I don't like just sitting in the room. So I walked down to the mall, a beautiful mall. And as I'm walking back, a Texas rainstorm hit me. And I mean, the raindrops were the size of my head. It rained and it rained and it rained. So I get back to my room, and a buddy sheriff of mine, Mike Lewis from Maryland, calls me. And I'm sitting in my room in shorts. I'd taken my nice clothes off because they were soaked, and my shoes were wet. And luckily, I'd been to Texas last year, so I had flip-flops. I had extra underwear and shirts and all that because of the heat. And Mike Lewis calls me and he goes, "Hey, Kim, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm up in my room trying to dry off." And he's like, "Come down to the lobby. I need to talk to you right away." Okay, so I go down to the lobby, and I got a picture on my phone. I don't have it. I gotta put it on a slide because you guys would laugh at me. I'm in shorts, a t-shirt, and flip-flops. And Mike's like, "You want to go on a helicopter ride? I got a buddy who's a helicopter pilot with Texas DPS." I'm like, "Heck yeah, let me go change." He goes, "No time. The Uber's here. We're going to the airport right now." Great. So I didn't even have any ID on me. So we get to the airport. It's pouring rain. We sit at the airport for probably 45 minutes. The choppers were under visual flight rules, so they had to see before they could land. And they couldn't land because it was raining too hard. So the choppers circled for about 45 minutes. They finally come in, they fuel up, they pick us up, and it was still raining. And I text my wife. I had my phone. I'm like, "Hey, if you hear about a helicopter, a police helicopter on the border crashing, and they can't identify one of the bodies, it's probably me because I don't have my wallet." So I'm like, please call somebody in Texas. But anyway, I shot this photo of that's the border wall. And what you can't see, but I will show you a better picture. When we landed, I took another picture. There are breaks in that border wall every quarter of a mile where there's big openings. And the openings were there on purpose because when they were building the wall, what they did was they left these openings so the heavy equipment could go in, so they could construct the walls. And then when the current administration got in and they stopped the construction, they just left the openings in the walls. There's an example. Those openings are all over. They're all over. So people just come and go. So this picture, you can see the island there. Those are islands in the Rio Grande, and Mexico lays claim to those islands, and the cartels own those islands. And what they do, whatever they're trying to get across into America, they will get them onto those islands during the day, and then in the evening, you can see it's a much easier crossing for them. So if they're running dope, they put the dope on the island. Most of the time, it's humans. They lay low in there, and then at night they bring them into America. So, but that's one of the ways they're doing it. This right here, this is a photo. These are all photos I took from the helicopter, by the way. Right here, these blue tarps, those are Haitian. Those are there. They bring the Haitians in, and then in the evening they make their way into America. And on the right up here, this one up here, where you see that's a big camp. I would say that's several acres. It's a pretty good sized area, and that's Mexico. So we went out on a patrol with DPS tactical team, Texas State Troopers, their tactical boats, and they got, Dale, you'd love their boats. Did I show you the picture of the boat? Yeah, triple 350s on the back. I'm like, we could make it from like Ludington to Manitowoc in about 35 seconds. It goes fast. It's a fast boat. And so anyway, we were out on a patrol, and here's what they do. They say, hey, sheriffs, they brief us, and they're like, hey, the cartels know there's sheriffs on the border, but we got helicopters up. Nothing's going to happen. It'll be fine. And I'm thinking, well, there's 30 sheriffs. We're going to be in different boats. Nothing's going to happen. It's daytime. This day, it was a nice day. And we get out on the Rio Grande, and we come around a corner, and I'm sitting next to the pilot of the boat, and he says, hey, sheriff, on Mexico side, the guy in the pink shirt, he's cartel. And the guy in the water, one of those guys in the water is cartel, and they're trying to smuggle those people across. So we're going to hang out here for a little bit. So like a dummy, I stand up with my cell phone. I start taking pictures of them. That's a photo I took. The guy standing on the shore that's like this, he's actually like this. He's giving me the finger upside down, which means death. I'm going to kill you. And then the guy in the water, he's just giving me the finger upright, which means I don't really like you. But, and I take the picture, and the state trooper's like, I can't believe you just did that. I'm like, well, did I do anything wrong? And he's like, well, no, but they hate you. They do not like their photos being taken. And I'm like, I'm getting on a plane in 2 hours and flying back to northern Michigan. They're never going to find me. At least I hope they don't find me. So anyway, yeah. So that's happening every day in Texas, every day. This is where the cartels, that gang is at from Venezuela. And you wonder, these are the different states they're in. This is the cartel that you heard about in Aurora, Colorado, that the governor and the city manager or mayor of Aurora said was not there. There wasn't a big problem. Some of the elected officials were making more of it. Those are the states they're in. They're in Wisconsin, Illinois, New York, Florida, Texas, of course, Colorado, Nevada, California. That's where they know. And in Texas, they have actually taken over apartment buildings like you heard of in Colorado. They've actually tried to take them over. And the challenge for law enforcement is, a guy last night at the deal in Ludington said, well, could they come across on the boat from Wisconsin? I'm like, well, yeah, they can come across on the boat. Well, don't you check IDs? I'm like, no, nobody checks their IDs. When they get into America, unless there's a reason for them to have contact with law enforcement, they're not going to be found out about. And they said, well, could they come to Ludington? Could they come to Mason County? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, they could. But what happens is, and I'll show you a video, and then we got a little bit of it on the video. Border Patrol on their phones have what's called an Aztec app. And it is where they come in contact with illegals and they take their picture, and it will tell them if they have a criminal record. They do biometrics on facial recognition. The problem is, have you heard the rumor that the Venezuelan gangs are being taken to their border and told not to come back? Have you heard that they're dumping the prisons in Venezuela and telling them to go to America? 100% true. 100% true. Border Patrol will tell you all day long. So what we talked about, the IDs, right? The IDs and passports and how valuable they are to all of us. Well, when they're coming up through Mexico, they dump their passports. And then when they come to America, if they're caught, they say, I'm Kim Cole, or I'm Mickey Mouse, or I'm Brian Ford. And there's no way for law enforcement, Border Patrol, to verify who that person is because Venezuela has scrubbed the criminal records. They do not share that data. And El Salvador and maybe Haiti do as well. So Border Patrol's got, how do they know who these people are? So once they get in and they get their court date, which might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, they're here. They are here. No, they take the facial recognition. And then if they get deported, they do something wrong and they get deported and they come back, that facial recognition is in the database. So if one time they come in and they say they're Kim Cole, and then they come in another time they say they're Dale Goodrich, they're like, nah, which one are you? Because it's not matching our facial recognition. Okay, I think this is a video. Yeah, play the video. Pause it 1 sec. So we get up in the air, and this is a video I shot from the helicopter. And the pilots are like, hey, man, we're sorry we couldn't get in. The weather was poop and whatnot. And, we just missed out on a high-speed chase in McAllen where they had 6 or 7 guys bail out of the car. And when we got in the helicopter, you put the headsets on, and it's nonstop police chatter. It was constant police chatter. It was, hey, I got a foot bail here, clear the radio. Or, hey, I got a car chase going here, clear the radio. Or here I got another foot chase going where 3 bailed on foot. And I mean, it was nonstop for an hour and a half. This is a video I shot. They had a foot bail of 7 illegals. And a foot bail is the police try to make a car stop and then everybody takes off running. Okay, go ahead. This is a residential neighborhood, nice houses, pool in the one backyard. This is where people live here. This is people's neighborhoods. Up there is the second helicopter. What they would do is the one helicopter would be low, and then and we were high at that moment. And then the next video I show you will be where we were low and they were high. But yeah, when we pulled out and left because we were low on fuel, they'd captured 6 of the 7. I don't know if they ever did catch the 7th guy or not. Okay. Play this video. This is the helicopter I'm in, where we are now the low helicopter. The other helicopters pulled up and they're high. There's the 6 lined up on the fence, and you can see the troopers and DPS guys talking to them. The one's on his phone. What they've done is they've taken the facial recognition, and now they're trying to verify who these guys are. And if Texas passed a kind of an enhanced trespass. So if you are in Texas and you are breaking the law, that's a separate crime. Okay, that fills the gap where Customs and Border Patrol cannot make the physical arrest because the government doesn't want them being arrested and put in detention centers. So they passed a criminal trespass in Texas that gives the authorities the right to hold these folks under state law, not federal law. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. These guys were super cool, these pilots. I should have been a pilot. There I am in my shorts and t-shirt. I didn't know what to do. Right? I know, right? I didn't know what to do. Son of a gun. All right. So this video, I was given permission. This came, you know Mark Lamb, Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinell County, Arizona? Okay, some of you do. Yeah, so he's a big time sheriff. He ran for U.S. Senate against Kerry Lake. He lost that, and now he can't run for sheriff because he's already been on the ballot. So he will be out at the end of the year. Don't worry about Mark Lamb. He's going to be very well financially, but he's been a good friend of mine. And so this is a video that he provided to me. If you look, this is a 50 cal, right, Dave Sanders? It's a 50 cal. There's a rifle there, a fully automatic rifle there. And this guy's wearing a ballistic vest. Okay? This is I-10 in Phoenix, Arizona. Cartel in Phoenix, Arizona, rolling down the road with a 50 cal on their dashboard. Go ahead and shoot the video. That's a state trooper on a car stop. They drove by that trooper. They'll loop again and show you. So it'll play again. Trooper on a car stop. Maybe it's a crash. I don't know. But these idiots were brave enough to show the video, post the video, and then law enforcement tracked them down and arrested them. But that's what they're doing. I mean, they are not the least bit afraid of what showing their firepower and what they want to do. They were ready to fight. Ready to fight. Okay, lastly, this picture. We come back to the 12 brave law enforcement folks from Israel. I mentioned in May I was given an opportunity to go to Israel for 6 days. And what happened was on a Sunday morning, it's kind of crazy how how God works things out in a person's life, right? So in 2022, I was the president of the Michigan Sheriff's Association. And in 2023, the national sheriffs were coming to Grand Rapids to hold a conference. Well, they came in 2022 to kind of take a look at the venue, see what was going on. And as the president at that year, I got to go and meet a lot of the national folks. One of the guys was a guy named Tim Woods. He's the deputy director of the national sheriffs. And if you know much about me in the winter, I like to wear a sweater vest. That's what old guys do, right? We wear sweater vests. So Tim Woods is wearing a sweater vest. And we got to be friends because we both wear sweater vests. So we shared phone numbers. I had a phone number in my phone. And on a Sunday in May, Tim Woods calls my cell phone. Had I not had him in my phone, I probably wouldn't have taken the call. It's a Sunday, right? And I'm like, why is Tim calling me on Sunday? So I take the call. I'm like, hello. And he's like, Kim, what do you got going this week? I'm like, not much. Why? He goes, you want to go to Israel? And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, yeah, you got a passport? We're taking 5 U.S. sheriffs to Israel. And your name came up. And it was, I was the Michigan rep. There was a Minnesota sheriff, a Wisconsin sheriff, an Ohio sheriff. We didn't sit by each other. No, I'm kidding. Ohio sheriff. And then Mike Chapman, who is a sheriff in Loudoun County, Virginia, where all the school board stuff was going on. He's the sheriff of that county. And there was one police chief from Buffalo, New York that went. So we go to Israel. I told him, I said, I'll go. Tim, I'm going to go, but I got to talk to my wife. Israel's at war, but count me in. He goes, you got 5 minutes or I'm going to go to the next guy on the list. I said, let me talk to my wife. So my wife's upstairs getting ready for church. I go upstairs. I said, honey, I'm heading to Israel. Oh, and the catch was it was Friday. We were leaving Friday. This is a Sunday. We're leaving that Friday. I said, honey, I've been given an opportunity to go to Israel. I think I'm going to go. And she's like, you're not going to Israel. They're at war. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go. And she goes, you're not going. And I'm like, well, I think I'm going to go. And then she calls my daughter in Tennessee, who, as I sit here tonight, she's prepping. She's going to have a baby. Our second grandchild's coming tomorrow. They're going to induce her tomorrow morning. My daughter calls me. She says, Dad, you can't go to Tennessee. They're at war. Or you can't go to Israel. They're at war. I'm going to have a baby. I got a Reagan. I'm going to have a Kennedy. So I got a baby. My first granddaughter's Reagan. My granddaughter coming tomorrow is going to be a Kennedy. She goes, Dad, you can't do this. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go, Case. And then my son calls me. So my wife's upstairs calling the kids while I'm downstairs. This is what she does to me. My son calls me, and if you know my boy, he just kind of bebops through life, and he goes, hey, Dad, I don't think you should go to Israel. I think they're at war. And I'm like, yeah, they're at war. But then the last call I got was my mother. She called my mom. And my mom's like, and if you know my mom, She doesn't care anymore what she says. She's got no filter left. She's like, you are a white, conservative, Christian American. You can't go to Israel. And I'm like, I'll be fine. So anyway, I ended up I did go to, obviously I went to Israel, and it was fine. Israel's a beautiful country. I don't know if any of you have been to Israel, but all Israel wants to do is they just want to live in peace. They just want to be left alone like the rest of us. The problem is they're surrounded by people that hate their guts. This morning, if you watch the news, Hezbollah launched a intercontinental ballistic missile from Beirut heading for Tel Aviv. And, the Iron Dome stopped that. And so I was there for 6 days. I have a presentation on that. If you want to see that sometime, I'd be happy to show that to you too. We went to where the music festival was, where all the young people were killed. Met some incredibly brave young law enforcement officers. Like I said, 61 were killed. Most of them, their guns were empty when they were found. In February, I was in Washington for a national sheriff's meeting, and Director Ray from the FBI came in, and he said, I'm going to tell you, we have no idea who's in America. We do know, based on chatter, and this is all public knowledge. He testified before Congress on this, that he said, we are hearing more chatter than pre 9/11. We know people are in the homeland. We don't know if there's 500 or 50,000 terrorists here. We don't know. But we suspect a threat, an attack is imminent on American soil. And I don't know if you've heard of the video that Hamas was wearing GoPros when they came into Israel. And they recorded the horrific events. To call them animals is giving them credit they don't deserve. It was barbaric what they did to Jews in Israel. But when we talked to law enforcement, military leaders, the things they said was, what Hamas did is some of them came to Israel on work visas. Sound familiar? They came in on work visas. They surveilled while they were in Israel. When they invaded Israel, it was on a Saturday, October 7th. That was Shabbat. That was the holy day for Israel. So a lot of people weren't working, but they knew right where the police chief's office was, or the police commander's office was, when they hit the police precincts. Prior to October 7th, Hamas strategically took out cameras on the border. They knocked out a camera and then they sat back. Netanyahu said in the early stages of the attack, and I think he's been pretty open about it since, they acknowledged there was a lot of failures that Israel did. There was some intelligence failures that happened. One of them was they didn't fix the cameras. So they knocked out a camera and then Hamas sat back and watched. Camera wasn't fixed. So they hit another camera, took it out, sat back and watched. This was months prior to the attack. And when they made the attack, when Hamas took out the cameras, so they essentially took out the eyes, and then they disrupted the communications. So we were at this training camp. This is border security. This would be their Army Ranger version of Israeli defense, their law enforcement. One of the commanders says, hey, we got information that there's an uprising or something going on in southern Israel. Can you send some guys down there to check it out? And these guys were killed. They walked into 1,500 terrorists, and these guys were killed. So the gal on the other side, super good lady, passionate about what she does. She's the commander of the McAllen, Texas Customs and Border Patrol headquarters. That is part of the Rio Grande Valley sector, covers Brownsville, Texas to Rio Grande City. McAllen has 600 Border Patrol agents assigned to that station. It is the largest contingency of Customs and Border Patrol officers on the southern border, 600 of them. So while we're at the border, see the fence in the background, one of the sheriffs notices a camera. And he says, hey, I'm curious, how many cameras do you have along the southern border here in McAllen, in the McAllen area? How many do you think? 11. She goes, one works. One works. And when asked why, she said she does the politically correct thing, and these Border Patrol agents are in a tough spot, right? Because they can't say a lot because they answer to the federal government. She says, well, since COVID, it's been hard getting parts. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Well, this other Border Patrol guy who's not one of the commanders, he's standing behind me. I got a picture with him too, but I'm not going to show it because he's like, this is what we deal with. And this guy says, we can't talk, but you sheriffs can talk. You got to tell people what is going on down here. When we landed the helicopter after the chases, the helicopter pilot says, I'm sorry, it was kind of slow. It was kind of slow today. I'm sorry. The weather probably kept some guys, kept them watered down. I'm like, slow? You had like 4-foot chases and a high-speed chase in the hour and a half we were up in the air. He goes, this is all day, every day. And this is all day, every day. You don't hear this on the news, okay? When I got on the plane to come back from McAllen to Dallas, I sat next to a captain that was a Border Patrol captain in the Rio Grande City area, Rio Grande City. And he said, hey, he saw my logo on my shirt. He goes, you're one of the sheriffs that came to Texas. And I said, yes, sir. I said, I can't give you money. I can't give you resources, but I can talk. What do you want me to tell the people back home? He said, you tell your people back home that every day in Rio Grande City, my agents are getting illegals in America with fully automatic weapons every day. And we're getting about 15%. That's what's going on. That's the reality of what is happening on our southern border. And again, people with fully automatic weapons sneaking into America are not here to find a better life. They're here to create problems. And we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared. And, the one thing we can do is we can vote. And if people are not willing to secure our nation, secure us, keep us safe, they need to go. Whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, they got to go. Okay, I don't get how it isn't all over state news that they cut $300 million out of school safety this year. I don't get it. Well, I do because the media doesn't want that out, and they drive the ship. So, with that, any questions?